Thank you. I'll take all that. Don't you? They remind me of this couple named Fred and Myrtle. I mean, really, just to be honest, I love this. And if you don't know the story, the worship team didn't know the story, so I told the story. It's about a man and woman who always seems like the lady runs the man just a little bit. I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just trying to say there's an aggressiveness of that. And so when Fred and Myrtle were young, they didn't have much money. And so they would go to the fair every year, and there was a guy there with a biplane, the old planes, and he would take you up for $10. And so every year Fred would ask, "Hey, Myrtle, can I do that this year?" And she'd say, "No, we don't have a lot of money. $10 is $10." So after being married about 50 years, they go to the fair again. He's now 70, and he looks over and it says, 2 for 1 special for $10. What a deal. And he says, "Myrtle, can we do it? I mean, both of us can ride this time for $10. And she said, "You know what? That sounds like a good deal." She pulled out $10, and she started to hand it to the guy. The guy goes, "Now, let me tell you something. When we get up there and we get flying, I'm going to do some barrel rolls, and you're strapped in, hang on. Don't forget to strap in, hang on. But if you scream or holler, I'm going to charge you $10 more. So it's going to be $20 if you scream or holler." So Myrtle turns and says, "You don't say a word. You hear me?" I ain't going to say nothing. They got up in the air, and it was just fantastic and everything. And then he started doing the barrel rolls, and he held on for dear life. And as they were coming in and landing, the pilot turned back, and he said, "Was that fun or what? Hey, what happened to Myrtle?" Said, "Well, she fell out about the second roll, and $10 is $10. See, some of you wives are like, "That's not funny." Not at all. It's hilarious. $10. We've told that joke amongst our family for a long time, and every time I'll say something, I never carry cash. I am not the cash guy. If I have cash, I have daughters who go, "Hey, can I have $20? I learned real quick. I would pull $100 out when I was young, and I would go home with it, and I had $20 by the end of the night every single time. But see, if I have a debit card and I require a receipt to come back, it slows it down a lot. So I just went to debit cards, and that ended the problem. And literally, I send money to Venmo, and I spend out of Venmo because it's easy for me. I don't have to worry about, where did that $50 go? I lost $100 last year. I had $100 in cash, stuck it in my pocket, did something, pulled into my pocket, and I'm like, what happened to it? The wind was blowing that day. I know it's hard to believe in West Texas. The wind was blowing that day, and it has to be across the field over there somewhere in that field across from our house and our shop. And Dina, we were talking about this the other day. I said, "Why don't you send the kids over there and see if they find $100, and I'll give them, 20 of it. I mean, at least." And she said, "They'll come across a snake or something and run all the way back, and it won't be funny." I said, "Well, it might be worth $10. Now, I've been teaching on faith, family, and fear, and nothing grips us harder than money. Nothing grips us harder than money. Have you ever noticed that God is not... God, when he talks to us, he realizes there's other gods. Even for the Christian. This is why Exodus 20 says, "Have no other gods before me." You see, and money is one of them. It's a little g, it's not a big G, but it's a real one. If you are controlled or manipulated, it will be by money. And let me be honest with you, everybody starts typically without much. Excuse me. Everybody starts, and you know what? A lot of us, hello, hold your hand up with me. Have you messed up money before? Anybody other than me? I'm just being honest. Excuse me. They gave me water, I'll take some. I've messed up with money before. And I learned to have a money map. And that's what I want to talk to you a little bit about. But I want to talk to you about the process of that. Dean and I, we've been blessed. And we give heavily. We were figuring it up last year. Now, everybody's different. Now, I'm not asking you to be me or Dina, but we started out 33 years ago, 32 years ago was when we started actually giving. 32, when we really made a commitment to give. We were in debt. Our debt then was $5,000 plus our vehicle. So we thought we were, or $3,000 plus our vehicle. We thought we were heavily in debt. In 1993, that felt like a weight. Now, the average person in America in 1993, their personal credit card debt was $6,000. Do you know what it is today, national average? It's between $50,000 and $60,000. Excuse me. Wow. We felt like we were in great debt, and we made a promise to the Lord right then. We said, Lord, we're going to start giving even if it hurts. And honestly, honestly, it hurt. Choked for a little while. I made $324 a week take home. Worked for a gas company, driving a gas truck. We lived in Des Moines, Iowa. We worked in a church. We were bivocational. We had a large singles ministry we were pastors of. And we worked as associate pastors in the church. We were not full-time. We were just part-time. But we had great responsibilities. And we started giving $32.50 every single week. And the big weeks, we gave $33. Now, did that make a huge... That church was about 1,000 people. Did it make a difference in their budget? A little bit. You know what made a big difference in their budget? That we were faithful. That's what made the big difference in our budget. That we learned, oh, you're a good man, Charlie Brown. Thank you. Hey, Aaron, thank you. Thank you. On Thursday morning, we were going to go up Wednesday, but it was so windy we didn't go. Thursday morning, we took off and went to our home in Kansas. And as we were going, I asked Dina, because I'm doing research. I work on research for weeks before I ever preach. I said, how many ways can you tell me that we can get to Kansas in our home? And she goes, oh, I can think of at least 6. And she started telling me them all, 6 different ways. I said, have we taken them all? She goes, you've taken every one of them. I get bored. Do y'all get bored? I get bored driving the same way. I don't even come to the church the same way every day or every time I come. I just don't. I get bored. In the process, I said, back in 2020, when we were under COVID, we couldn't travel very much, remember? Ain't nobody going to stop me from going to my home. At least that's how I said it, So I got in my truck, and I headed to my home in Kansas to check on things, and I was going to do some work there, and I got stopped right outside of Dodge City. There's nobody on the highway. And I wasn't running 90 miles an hour. I was doing 70 or 65. 65 is what it is there. I was running about 65. I was pulling a trailer. This cop seen me, and he stopped me. And I thought, what does he want? Well, what was on the back of my trailer was a 37 Ford Coupe. He wanted to look at the car. That's what he wanted to do. He was about Danny's age, and he came up. He was an older gentleman. He came up. Did I say that wrong? He came up, and he's in his perfectly dressed suit, and he's got his mask on. He goes, how you doing today? I said, I'm good. He said, you know why I stopped you? I said, not a clue. He said, I couldn't see that you had a tag on that trailer. Sure. He said, but do you mind if you step out and let's look at it? Sure. So we got back there, and there's nobody on the road, and we're standing there looking at this 37 Coupe. Can I open the door? Absolutely. Man, this is nice. What are you doing out in the middle of nowhere? Bring it up here. I said, well, my nephew bought it, and my mother sold it, and I'm delivering it. And he said, do you have a home up here? I said, I do. I have a home in the town I'm taking it to and everything. And he goes, oh, that's cool. He never looked at my ID. He never looked at my insurance. He just stood there and talked. After about 15 minutes, he said, well, have a good trip, man. Appreciate you stopping. Well, you got the lights, you got the badge, you got the gun. I'm going to do it. I recognized, and I thought about this whole thing. I thought, if they block the roads, and we really do come to, there's all kinds of stuff about a martial law and on and on and on. I know about 50 ways to go through the back roads to get there that nobody knows. Just saying, I've been hunting a lot through those roads. And I can make my way and zigzag my way all the way from farm to farm to farm to farm to farm until I get there. Now, here's the crazy thing. If I can do that, do you think the road I'm on, even if it's wrong, I can get back on the right road for my money? Yeah. Yes. Do you think that even if there's a roadblock here, God will put me on another road so I can get back on target? Yes. And it doesn't matter where you live in the world. Mentality of money is what kills you, not having it or not having it. I'm around people who are very, very poor and very, very rich in the world's eyes. I get around people in other countries, in third worlds, and they're like, Pastor, we're just poor. And I see, and Joe told me about this. He said there's ministers who are going to want you for their money, your money, and there's going to ministers who are going to understand you have and you'll spread it as you invest in them. Look for those guys, not these guys. And so we have. And I've done that timing there. You see? Because I realize that even on a mission trip, there has to be a mapping things out. As a matter of fact, the first couple times I went, it was follow this and do this, and it was kind of chaotic. And I sat down with our overseas partners and our ministers there, and I said, gentlemen, I am not spontaneous, spur of the moment. I will do some of those things. We can stop in and see somebody, but I'm pretty planned because my time is short when I get here, and you want me to minister for 15 hours a day. You cannot go in to a governor or a president's office and go, we just come to visit. Agree? President Trump's not going to let you walk in his office and just go, hey, I just want to sit and hang. Is that all right? I don't mind sitting over here in the corner. Boy, we got too many things going on for you to sit over there and do this. I was sitting in a governor's office up in Eldoret, and I realized one of our partners who was leading this did not have a good plan. And after we were done, because I took over, after we were done, I pulled him off the side and I said, I'm not scolding you, but you got to understand, this person, their time is valuable. And if you do not have a good map, a good plan of what we're talking about, don't set me up. And he looked at me and he goes, yes, sir. From that moment on, I'm already getting detailed information about our trip that's happening in 1 month. April the 6th, mark it in your calendar. Come have dinner with Pastor right here. You too, Dina. You too, okay? Yes, $10 is $10. We're getting ready. Without a map, how much fun is it? It's not much fun. See, before Larry Burkett and Dave Ramsey, and there was a guy by the name of Rand McNally. If you're not over 40, you don't know who Rand McNally is. Rand McNally. Who is Rand? Used to go into grocery stores all the time, and Rand McNally had that little thing. Some of them were free. Some of his booklets are free. Some of them you had to pay for. I had the big one. It was At Last, You've Got It. It was an atlas. And I promise you, oh, that was corny. Yeah, you're like, that's terrible. That's terrible. And I would sit down, and every time, now you got to understand, this is before GPS. This is before cell phones. And I would sit down and I would map out where I'm going and hit the main highways. And guess what? If I didn't know where I was going, I stayed on the thoroughfare, the main highways. Period. And Rand McNally was the company who made the maps. I would get one every single year and update. And sometimes halfway through the year, I'd buy another new one because I'd either marked it up or the roads changed. That's how you did it. I went through Houston many times, and I go, okay, I'm going to get on this road. I get on that road, it wasn't there. Shows it's there. Half of it's there, half of it's not. Today, all you do is you get in your car, and it's on your car. Some of y'all don't remember rental cars where you had to have GPS added to your car, or it was on your phone. Turn left, turn right, do this, do that. Every single one of us have this great opportunity. The problem with our money is it's tied to our heart. You ever notice that? Matthew chapter 6, I'm reading out of the scripture here. Matthew chapter 6, verse 21, 19 through 21. It'll be up in just a second. Everything we have is tied. Do not lay up for yourself treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal. Have you ever had somebody break into your property and take something? Does it feel good? Do you watch everything after that? This morning as I got out, go feed the dog, Dina goes, your garage and barn's open. I was like, what? I went in, I flipped all the lights on. I go, Mercy, you okay? She wasn't barking anything. I thought, man, okay, the wind just blew it open. All right, I'm good. Let her out. You know what it's like to have something stole. Somebody broke into my Jeep one time, stole everything that was good out of it. And they took the radio. They took all my equipment that goes along with off-roading, and it stunk. Hundreds of dollars worth of stuff. My jack, everything. Everything they could sell or pawn, they took. It stunk. Now here's the thing I'm getting at, is my heart was tied to that stuff for a second. Don't lay treasures up there for where thieves and they can steal. Go to the next verse, 21. But listen to this. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. God has tied your funding to your heart. Why? So he'll know who's first and you get to choose. Let me say it again because I know you missed it. So you choose who gets to be first. God put your heart and your money or your treasure together so you know who's first. Now, your treasure could be your spouse. Your treasure could be your children. But I promise you, your treasure is your money too. Let me share with you, if you're young, you need to learn to start the process well. You need to start the process well. That means it's like we were talking about. I was just sharing about 32 years ago. We started the process. We give a little bit more than $33 now. We're not expected to live on that level. But I don't make that kind of money anymore. Shoot, $33, $324. It may be one simple thing we do for that kind of money. You see what I'm saying? And same with you. You don't make the money you did when you were younger. And some of you who are young, you won't make this money again. You'll make it again above that. And the process keeps going and going and going until we look like we're very wealthy because we've inflated everything, haven't we? The product's not much difference. And here's the interesting thing. My treasure has not changed. It's still in the Lord. And that day I was saying, you're number one. Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23 says, guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it comes the issues of life. Guard your heart. Your treasure is in your heart. Guard your heart at all cost. Why? Because out of your heart comes the issues of life. Your family's an issue, isn't it? Your spouse and marriage is an issue. Your money is an issue. Period. You're going to face some things in your life, and these are going to be a big part of it. So when you open up, and everybody does this, you open up your checking account either online or you call and find out where it's at. And when they give you that number or you look on the line and you get that number, you either have a sigh of relief because you have some, or you have I didn't know that was coming out today. We own a business. We have this conversation sometimes. And I had it the other day, and Dean goes, it was only $10 a month. No. It is $10 a month if you look at it like that, but they took out $120. She said it was only $10 a month. I said, I know, but they took out their $10 right up front. for the whole year. I promise you. And she said, what are you saying? I said, I'm just not saying anything. I'm just holding my breath. I'm going to take a walk. And I'll be better when I get back, I promise. See, because that makes you either happy or sad. And some of you look at it way too much. It doesn't matter, but money, if you don't have it or you do have it, will always be an issue. Let me get where you live. If you're living and breathing, money is always going to be an issue. Put your heart forward with the Lord first, and the rest of it will fall in place. If you do not, you'll be eating your own seed. Now that's something to think about. If you're a farmer, the greatest thing you have in assets are your equipment and your seeds. Your seeds are for your future. Your equipments are for now. All the tools you have in the barn and all the tools you have as implements are to help plant that seed and nourish it and help it grow. You're not farmers, are you? You're people who go to work for all kinds of different places, from BSA to Northwest Texas to the city of Amarillo to AISD to whoever, right? But every piece of what you're doing is equipment for the seed you're sowing. And you're sowing all the time. You're sowing at Toot and Totem. You're sowing at United Market Street. I like the new one, don't you, on the South Loop? That's kind of nice. You're sowing at Freddy's, or like our family every Sunday night, you're sowing at Brahms. Just saying. And if you're like Danny and I, you're sowing at one of the barbecue places on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'm just saying. Aaron, you've got hooked on it now. I mean, and Aaron comes and he sows into me a burritos from Grandma's, and that's great. Man, I love it. Keep it up. Keep it up. But you're putting seeds in the ground. When you don't sow it into the Lord, what you wind up doing is eating it. It doesn't digest real well. It gives you indigestion because it doesn't belong to you. God tied money to our hearts so he could see who is in first place. Listen to this, Proverbs chapter 12, verse 20, 25. Women don't realize the depression that men go through over providing for their families. Depression comes from the fear of who's in control. It says depression comes from anxiety in a man over control. If I can't provide, it's very difficult. But a good word brings gladness. Now, I have messed this up many times. And God's reset it many, 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 many times. I asked Dina on the way back, we gave 10 questions, and she's like, I'm kind of tired of questions. Will you go with something else? I said, what do you think was our biggest mistake in making on any car? Any car you didn't like. What was the biggest one? And she said, we had a really super nice Elegante Suburban. It was all the works. Captain's chairs, leather. It was beautiful. The kids were young. And I said, what was the mistake with that? She goes, we had to sell it because we got in a bind. Oh, yeah, I remember. That was when we moved to Amarillo and planted the church originally. We had to sell it. And she goes, we got another car behind that. I said, oh, I remember the black cherry Dodge minivan. She goes, yes, I hated that car. We drove it for 6 years because we had to pay everything off. At the end of 6 years, we had everything paid off. I wouldn't let her get another car until it was paid off. She wouldn't let me get another car until it was paid off. When we paid it off, we gave it away, and we bought a nice Suburban. We stuck with it because we were in debt, and we decided together we were going to be faithful in this. Every family does business. I know this is a somber kind of thought, but you need to think about this. According to the current population survey, the ASEC, 133.1 million people today are married in America. That's 1/3 of Americans are married. Your skills are trained, good or bad, by your parents. Your skills, trained good or bad, are trained to you by your parents. Period. You always have a spender and you always have a saver. Just the way it is. You have the big buyer and you have the little buyer. I was never the little buyer. When it comes to pulling up to Target, I am so happy that COVID happened now. You say, well, why are you happy about that? Because now I can pull up to Target, I can punch the button, the back opens, the little guy comes out and goes, are you such and such? Yes, I'm order 36523. There you go, put it in the back. He puts it all in the back. I punch the button, I said, have a good day. And that's the end of it. I don't have to get out, I don't have to go in, I don't have to shop. I'm telling you, I love it. Dean's like, don't you miss the old days? Not a chance. Every family has business. Every family does business. When you get married, your partner has already been trained. Hold on, let me, because I know some of y'all don't know this. When you get married, your partner's already been trained. Period. Good or bad. Do you know if your parents have credit card habits, you have them? Do you know if your parents save, you have that? Do you know if your parents never gave to God ever, you have that same trait? I'm just telling you. But if your parents did save, you got that habit. If they did give the Lord, you have that habit. If they did use credit cards wisely and not spend on them, you have that habit. You say, well, I know families that don't pass it on because the kid didn't listen. I made sure every one of our girls knew how to write a check and sign their name. We took every one of our daughters to the bank and opened up their savings account and checking account. Every single one of them. And Charity, after about 3 or 4 years of marriage, she goes, can you take your name off my checking account? I don't do anything with it. I'll take it off. I'll take it off. No big deal. I went in there and said, hey, actually I just called him and said, hey, Dave, can you take that name off there? He goes, sure. Not a big deal. She's no longer in college. It's her own thing. And once Allie and Jonathan got married, I was still on her account. Didn't realize it. And now I've got all those things in my phone. And I go, beep. No big deal. I just spent $80 on Allie's card. Rats. I'm so sorry, Allison. I'll send it back to you. True story. Didn't realize it was in there. Every family does business. At some point, you'll learn either good or bad money habits. Here's the truth. You need to become one-minded. I have sat with hundreds of couples counsel. We regularly counsel couples. We counsel couples in groups. When we go overseas, we teach on marriage all the time. You need to be one-minded. And you say, oh, you have no idea of my family. You're right. But you got to come to one mind on it. For many years, Dina would say, where are we at? And I'd tell her. I mean, literally, she's over there sleeping, and I'm going, hey, babe, we're almost here. Oh, we're almost here. It's great. And then there was a time I got very sick 10 years ago, and I couldn't drive all the time. And so she started driving. I had never rode in the car with that woman for 2 hours that she ever drove. In 23, yeah, that's right. It's true. $10 is $10, baby. We went to Oklahoma City. And on the way back, I said, I can't drive any further. I just cannot do it. And she jumped in the seat, started driving, and I sat in the back seat. And that was the most difficult 2 or 3 hours I'd ever spent in my life. Not because of her driving, but because I'd never rode in any other seat. It had nothing to do with the seat, with the driving. She's fantastic. She drives the speed limit. She's very careful. I get in her car and I take off. She's got this little meter from State Farm now on the back of her rearview mirror. And she goes, I got a message the other day that I was cornering too fast. I didn't come to a complete stop, and I was driving over the speed limit. I said, have you been letting somebody borrow your car? She said they were wondering if somebody stole my car. She said, I just responded, that's my husband. She's a safe driver. I had never been in that different position before. I was sitting in the back seat of this car, and I'm going, oh, I can feel every bump. There was a reason. There was a reason. Now I'm so used to it, I can get over on the other side, and I can fall asleep, no big deal. It took a while. With Dean and I in money, it was the same way. I had led for so many years. When she jumped back in and said, okay, I actually said, honey, we're doing well. We're moving along. I have to have you in here helping me with this. Can you reconcile every single thing on Mondays for me? I need it categorized, reconciled. I need you to take every receipt and file it for us. And she goes, I can do it. I was secretary for years. I can do it. So she takes all the receipts in. She files everything. She goes, it would be better if you put on there which account that came out of and what it was for. Oh, that is, you can't read my mind? Mm-hmm. Okay, that'd be better. So every Monday, I get an example of what we have in our bank account. And it puts pressure or it relaxes me every single Monday. Why? Well, with every good business, what is there? There's a supplier, right? Isn't every business need a supplier? And then there's a demand. In order to be in business, you have to have a supplier and a demand, right? You don't sell anything without a demand, right? The greater the demand, the better the supplier, how well it works together, right? And who's stuck right in the middle squeezed? You and I. We're the managers. This is how marriage works, guys. This is how, see, the supplier isn't us, it's God. The demand isn't us. It's either what we've given ourselves into or our children. By the way, the older you get, it doesn't change on the demand. I heard one of the teen girls. She turned 17. She's a cute girl. She's pretty new in the group, and she said she turned 17. She's all excited about it, and she looked over at Danny and she said, "That's nearly an adult in Texas." So good. And of course, I was talking to him, so I was sitting across from him. And I said, "What?" She goes, "That's an adult, Pastor, in Texas." I said, "An adult's when you can pay your own car insurance and cell phone." And she looks, and I look at Thomas, and he goes, "That's right. That's exactly right." That's a grandpa's experience right there. It's a dad's experience. Both of you have to come to the same page. Every time we got in debt, we were on the same page. Every time we got out of debt, we were on the same page. Every time when we were young, I used to buy cars without her. I mean, by the time I was 18 years old, I worked for a car dealership. I'd had 9 cars. By the time we got married, I owned 3. Still wish I had the square body 76 Silverado, but I don't have it. And so it was just natural. We come down Amarillo to visit everybody. I took her car, I traded it off, and I came back. Ba-da! Made a great deal. She walked out, she goes, what's this? I said, "It's our new car." She's like, "Oh, no, it's not." I said, "It's done deal, baby." She's like, "You know, I get that you understand all this stuff, but you gave me no say in it." "Well, you don't know cars." I didn't get a say in it. 10 years later, I come back in my work truck, and the guys drop me off because they're going to catch me the next morning early, and there's a brand new car in my driveway. Brand new. I walk in, I go, "Huh." Well, I got out of the truck, I go, "Looks like I got a new car." They started laughing. They said, "Yes, you did." So I walked in, I said, "What's up?" And they said, "Your car wasn't running very good." I said, my car wasn't running very good. You know, we drove it to work and was coming home, and it started acting up. So we know this guy who knows this guy who works for Honda, and we got a brand new one. You know what I said? I didn't blow through the roof or anything of that nature. I said, "Stinks being me, doesn't it? I did this to you 10 years ago." You go, "Yes, you did." Medicine's hard to take sometimes, isn't it? I put the money down. I paid for it. Make a map, guys. When we were together on things, we make a map. There's a map on our wall of everything we're doing, all our budget, all the things we're doing, all the things we want to do with the homes we want to do. We have property we bought, all the things we've laid out. And what is a map? It's Rand McNally saying, here's the best way to get there. I like to go from A to B, and I actually know the shortest route to my home in Kansas. I'll tell you if you want to know. I can get there in 4 hours and break little laws. Isn't the pastor doing that? What was? And break no laws. But you have to go the back roads to do it. Sometimes the alternative road leads you to something new that you need. And you say, well, I'm just going on. You got to get out of the destruction of blowing all your money and start towards the direction that you're supposed to be going. You gotta move. So what does a map do for you? It's the GPS. It's the AI technology now. What's GPS stand for anyway? God's personal spirit. Oh, you thought global positioning sensor. No. God's personal spirit leading you. I found I was a good manager at work and I was a poor manager at home. I would take risk at home, I wouldn't do at work. Sometimes I would use the I deserve this as a crowbar to get what I needed. I went from God owns nothing to now God owns literally everything. I went from planting a couple seeds to stuffing as much as I could in the ground. Dina and I figured it out. And everybody's different. We figured out in our business how much we actually get to keep. And it's 30%. 30% of what comes in we actually get to keep and eat and use. That means that 60 to 70% is going out all the time. You say, well, that's just weird. How do you do that? We followed a pattern of this guy who invented Caterpillar. Honest to God truth. He was giving 90% of his money away and keeping 10%. It's crazy. Here's the amazing thing. If you watch us, we're gaining all the time. And we're only living on 30%. That's the honest to God truth. And that's not a brag. That's the Lord taking us from $30. That's the Lord saying, I'll trust you. Listen to these words. Listen to these words. They're 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 9 through 15. And this is where I'll end, okay? Because there's so much to talk about. I could do session upon session upon session, and you know that. And you know that. That's not a brag on me, guys. That's a brag on Jesus. It really is. Because he can do more. God can do more than that 30% for us than I can do by myself with 100%. I promise you. And for the last few years, we've been on the same page. And Dina doesn't go, oh my gosh, why are you doing this? And I don't go, oh my gosh, why are you doing this? Except with that $120. Listen to this. Verse 6, chapter 9, 2 Corinthians. But I say to you, he who sows sparingly will reap sparingly, and he who sows bountifully will reap bountifully. So let one give as he proposes in his heart. God takes away the tithe and says, how do you propose? I know what God's proposed in my heart. You get to propose in your heart. My suggestion is you learn to propose in your heart and listen to the Lord tell you. Listen to the second part of that. So let everyone give as he purposes in his heart, not grudgingly or out of necessity, for God loves a cheerful giver. And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that always having all sufficiency in all things may in abundance for every good work, Let me say it again to you. All grace. Anybody need grace? And I need grace. I'm going to close right here. I need grace. I need grace. I need grace. I need more grace. I need more mercy. You say, well, Pastor, this wasn't a hoorah sermon. No. No, it wasn't. Sobering. I have messed it up many, 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 many times. When it changed for me is when we got together on the same page and started saying, okay, God first, this second, this third. And by the way, debt wasn't second. Investing in my family was second. Dean and I asked her yesterday as we were coming back, I said, how many years have we been taking vacation by ourselves? She said, how old's Allison? I said, 25. She said, Allison, 26 this year. Allison was 4 months old the first time we took a vacation on our own without anybody. 26 years ago. And we started taking vacation. What? You're taking vacations without everybody else? Yes. Because we become one. We had $200 in our pocket is all we had. The hotel was paid for, or the condo was paid for. All the bills were paid. We took $200 in cash and said, what do you want to do? And she wanted to go downtown and shop at some of the little emporiums. I said, okay, can we do that on $40? Yes. I wanted to eat the steakhouse that was really good on the way. She said, that's going to cost at least $35, $40. I said, I know. Put that money back. How much is it going to cost us for gas? Back then, it was about $40 to go there. So we got $80 for gas. That leaves us $20 to $30, Errol. I said, I know. Every day, we would drive down to the Sonic and get a cherry limeade. That during happy hour. Because that's all we could afford on that trip. When we got back, we did it. And we've done it every year ever since. Now, we also took vacation with our kids every year. He will allow more grace to abound. Why? When He's first. When you start mapping things out and there's 12 ways to get there, and He says, oh, I know you're off on the wrong road. Don't worry, He'll pull you right back to the right road again. Every single person has this. It has the same thing to do with salvation. Do you realize that money and salvation have a tie? Do you realize salvation and children and marriage have a tie? It's more. So what do you want from the Lord? I want to be on the right road, but I also want more. I want more grace abounding beyond me than I could ever keep myself. If you learn what the Word says in Luke 16, it says, for when you've been trusted with little things, you'll be trusted with great riches. I've been trusted with the little things. I learned to be trusted with greater things and greater things and greater things and great. The seats you're sitting in are paid for because you helped do that. The building we bought because you helped do that. We don't get to do it by ourselves. I'm not smart enough or strong enough or quick enough to do it by myself. We do it together. We do it together first, then we get to do it together. I want more grace to abound. You know why? Because there are more people that haven't walked through the front doors yet. And there's enough in our church to fill the church all the way up and then some. And you guys have witnessed that, haven't you? They haven't caught it like you have. They will. They will.